Hey Thomas, how are you?
Jonathan, I'm doing good. And how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good, good. Hey, listen, today's Monday, November 5th, the day before the presidential election here in the United States. And, Friday, we had the job numbers come out. And I'd like to talk about a few things, and then we can segue into, pre-election night. That's what we can do. So let's talk about the job numbers that came out yesterday. And basically, U.S. economy added just 12,000 jobs in October, and they're saying it's impacted by the hurricanes and also the Boeing strike. Well, I love how they kind of like butter things up and grease everything up and say, hey, this is the reason why we had low job numbers. There's more reasons why you're having low job numbers. It's because the economy itself is slowing down, and we've been talking about that. And also, you got to recall how the federal labor statistics were changed, and they cleared off almost 800,000 jobs that were supposedly added over a 12-month period from March of 23 to April of 24. So they're kind of like they're being very fraudulent, and that's what they're doing. So they gave low numbers, and also you have the Fed this week that's meeting the Federal Reserve about the interest rates. Now, if you do low numbers, you're going to lower the interest rates. That's another story. But before we get into that, the unemployment rate is held at 4.1%, and also they're saying that 44,000 jobs in manufacturing sector was subtracted from this because of the hurricane. All right. So, what are your thoughts on these job numbers yourself when you see it, Jonathan?
I mean, I think there's a lot of factors I think take you have to take into account, right? I mean, we had a bunch of these storms, like they're mentioning. There's the election, there's the economy being not stable. So, people. We talked about it a couple times. People may not be hiring, or they might be hiring different type of workers where they're contractors and not full timers. Um, so it wouldn't. I mean, we've talked about this also. Like we're not sure where this economy will be in the next few months. Whether Trump wins or Harris wins, we
Mm-hmm.
may see conditions getting worse no matter what. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and we've said a few times that Trump would likely get us out of the issue faster, but we've been on this road for quite some time now, so we're not gonna. It doesn't surprise me that we're not heading in the direction that we would all want us to be heading into. Business
Mm-hmm.
owners across America are, for the most part, are worried about what's going to happen next month, next week, next quarter. So, I think it's this is the outcome of what we've seen and been talking about for the last few months.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's kind of like we threw the snowball down the hill, and now it's really getting bigger and bigger. If we go to Yahoo Finance and there had an article, basically jobs inflation, and the Fed. How are they all related? So the latest job numbers have you wondering about the interplay between the labor market, inflation, and the Federal Reserve. Um, you don't need to dig out your old microeconomics textbook to find out. So they just want to like kind of look at the landscape, what's in front of them right now. Um, and what's scary about the Federal Reserve cutting rates this week, if they do, even if it's a quarter of a point, you got to look at the way our economy is and the way they're printing money. I mean, we can have a huge jump in inflation. And going back 2 weeks ago, we talked about it in our podcast where the 10-year yields were up over 4%, and it was actually fueling inflation. So if you cut the rates again, so you're going to cut basically within 45 days, three-quarters of a point. And we're not in a healthy position to do that, in all honesty. It doesn't take a fool to understand that. Um, it can get very dangerous. Your thoughts on that, Jonathan?
Well, we've seen where people they're cutting the rates, but the mortgages were still going up a few weeks ago, and I mean, how prices for housing is at an all time high. People are not seeing that prices going down. I think they're
Hmm.
sitting on the market a little bit longer than they normally were, but that's expected with high interest rates, high price values for the homes. People can't get mortgages; they can't afford the same house that they were looking at 4 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, put this all into, the, you know, bag of what a homeowner needs, that's just one part. So the rates going down and being cut, uh, in theory sounds good to most people on the outside, but when you figure everything out afterwards, you notice that this is not in the direction that we need it to be in right now, and we might
Mhm.
see further, um, decreases and further issues for people across the board.
No, that's true. And when it comes to mortgages, what you're saying, it's even in the lending markets. Because the next article we have, the lending index shows mixed sentiment on small businesses' capital access as lenders grow optimistic about the post-rate cuts. So, they're actually saying that they did a survey on 14,000 businesses that sought funding. Um, they don't feel comfortable right now going even for more money than they need, because it's not only the rates coming into play, but it's also the future of the landscape, which you just mentioned. It's like we know things are going to get bad in 25, and as we stated over and over, not to be redundant, you know, Trump's going to inherit this, but Trump can get us out of it quicker. So 25 might be a washed year, but at least he can make 26 and 27 better. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris will probably dig us into it deeper, where 25 would be bad, 26 would be bad, 27 would be bad. And small businesses can't afford that. Corporate American businesses can, because they're on the publicly traded stock market. Small businesses aren't, and it's really going to hurt those small businesses in Main Street America itself. Your thoughts on this, Jonathan, because the way you deal with a lot of small businesses like I do. What do you think of that?
The small businesses out there, it's exactly what you're saying is true. They're being very careful of what they're spending. They barely can afford what they have right now. People are being forced to choose from figuring out how to get more clients by marketing more and paying their
Mm-hmm.
bills and keeping their employees. So it's a lose lose, right? Because in their eyes, they're gonna put money into marketing, and they feel like they won't, uh, see the rewards of that. And
Mm-hmm.
even though they will, a lot of them are not willing to take that risk. So what do? They do almost nothing, and they try more like guerrilla marketing that they do themselves. Now, a lot of these people are, not marketing people, so they're not going to be able to do what they need. And I would be surprised, unfortunately, that if, they make it out after these next few months, because they're hurting. And these are
Mm-hmm.
companies that were doing really, really good, 4+ years ago. They were thriving. They were making a lot of money, even during COVID. In the beginning parts of COVID, they
Mm-hmm.
were, doing. You couldn't get a contractor out there. You couldn't get. They were so busy, so left and right. So if you're one of those businesses that are hurting right now, we understand and we feel it because we see it every day. But even the bigger companies, like you said, the ones that are on the market, yeah, they can initially deal with it, right? But what do you see afterwards? You see them laying off people anyway because they got to make up the money somewhere. So what do? They become more efficient, maybe, or maybe they're starting to use, robotics or AI, and they're getting rid of more employees that are working for the company. So it has an impact across the board, small, medium, big. It's just the smaller companies are the ones that get directly feel it right away, and then they either close down or they have to downsize. But I have yet to find a lot of companies recently that are trying to scale. Everyone's
Yeah.
trying to hold down the fort and make it work.
Even Warren Buffett, if you're watching his behavior, he actually sold off more stock to create liquid for himself. And I think he had like I think an additional 250 million plus on Friday to his war chest. So when you have a guy like that who is an acquisitions guy, he actually knows what's coming. And you know what? You have to watch what they're doing. And just as you mentioned, businesses out there, the small businesses, medium-sized businesses, they are walking on thin ice because, really who wins this election, tomorrow is really going to decide what direction these small businesses are going to go in moving forward. And speaking of, the election, let's talk a little bit about the election that's going to be happening tomorrow nationwide. Okay, even though we've had early voting in, most states right now, but what have been some of the things you've been seeing, Jonathan, that's bringing a question mark and a worry to you?
So I shared with you last night, people are trying to vote for, let's say, Trump in this instance, and when they were clicking on his name on the computer on the machine, it was not letting them actually highlight his name. It was highlighting Harris's name instead.
Hmm.
I've heard several of these cases on social media. I've seen it. I've also seen people say that they couldn't find Trump. I think in California they were saying that he was all the way at the second page, whereas Harris is
Hmm.
right up top. So again, um, I'm not sure about the legalities of all that is, but we should want a fair legal opportunity for both people to be able to get it the right way, right? I mean, both of them should be
Hmm.
right up top. I don't even understand why they have all the other people. There's like, RFK is there, a bunch of other people are there. I don't even know why they're there. It should just be the two, um, and just make it plain and simple. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
you've seen
no,
ballots.
sure, no doubt about that. It can get confusing. Yeah, some states still have RFK Jr.'s name on the ballot.
I get when there's like an independent, right? I mean, it makes sense that they're still running, even though we haven't heard about them. But
Hmm.
they have like several Democrats out there. It looked like, and Trump and whatever else. But I think RFK was trying to get his name removed, and they wouldn't let him remove it in some of the states, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and something that's a concern to me. This came up about 3 weeks ago, and I was reminded of it over the weekend. Homeland Security is doing a critical infrastructure conference, and they're meeting tomorrow in Atlanta, where they're actually going to have people plugging into the system to test the cybersecurity. Why would you do that on election day? I just that's odd. That's going to bring a lot of question marks because even though it's in Atlanta, you're affecting nationwide because you get these white hatters and black hatters. They know how to tap into anywhere. They could be sitting anywhere in the world and tap in precisely to where you want them to be. So it just makes things question. I mean, why do we have to have these type of events occurring? Are you trying to create? Forget about diversity. Are you trying to create you know a riot of some sorts? Because that's what it can come down to. You
I
know.
mean, it again, it doesn't make sense. I think for all of us out there, we should want whether I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or either or neither or something else. We should all want the same. We should all want an honest election. We should all want to leave whoever wins. It should be like it used to be. Whoever lost, you shake the hand of the other person, say good luck, and you go quietly, your way. There shouldn't be any discrepancy that this happened or that happened, and we would be more divided continuing this way. We should figure out a way to come together, be a country, try to solve some problems, try to, make ourselves better these next 4 years. Because listen, at the end of the day, whoever becomes the president, you'd want to be able to be behind them and be like, yeah, that's my president. I want to support them. I want to be the best citizen I can be. But we don't create the
Hmm.
landscape for that. We just do, and then we doubt, and then we, get all mad. People get like mad, and you watch all these TV, news stations, and all they're doing is complaining, and they don't even let anyone talk. Their co-host, whatever it may be. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion. We need to respect the person to give them the time to talk and say what they want to say, and then respond to it. But it's not like that right now. It looks like, from what I see.
Yeah. It's going to get really ugly. Going back a couple of weeks ago, the Democratic Party hired Mark Ellis, Elias. He is the creme de la creme elections attorney in the United States. Why are you hiring this guy? What are you expecting to do? So as much as they want to say the media that, oh, if Trump's going to contest the election, well, you know what? So's Kamala going to contest it because why would the Democrats be hiring Mark Ellis? It comes down to you can actually research the guy, and again, he spells his name Marcelias, and the guy's a dangerous guy, but he's a smart guy. That's what makes him dangerous. So he really knows how to manipulate a situation in front of a jury. So, um, you know what? We're going to know 48 hours from now less than 48 hours, more than likely who the president of the United States is going to be. And listen, I have not been shy about it. I voted for Trump and Vance a week ago Thursday here in South Carolina. I'm praying that they win. I'm praying they take the Senate and also Congress. I will tell you, if Harris wins and the Democrats take the House and the Senate, game's over. Game's over in the sense of America as like I knew it and grew up in. Because I see where they're changing things towards Agenda 2030, and people are like, oh, you're full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what? I'm a very well-versed person. I know about Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 was Agenda 21 back in 1992. They're looking to create a situation where they want to take our freedoms away. Just look over the last 23 years, the freedoms that have been taken away from us in this country between 9/11 and COVID. All right. And if you're somebody that is in your early 40s, you can older, you can really understand how much of your freedoms have been taken away. All right. And it has been. And it's going to get worse. So I just hope, and pray Trump does win. So going that route. Do I think he's like the God who's going to change everything? Absolutely not. But he's our best chance. The guy loves the country. He doesn't even take a salary. Okay. Kamala's going to take a salary. I heard a number that, Kamala's worth over $100 million now. How's that possible? Okay. So something's going on, It's like the Obamas. They walked into office not being much, and when they walked out of office, they were worth $70 million. People, you got to wake up. There's a fraud being played on us, all the people on both sides of the aisle. Stop falling for the media. You have banks. Banks want to keep you in debt. You have pharmaceutical companies, they want to keep you sick. All right. You have the media. The media doesn't want to tell you the truth. They want to lie to you. All right. They don't want to be honest with us. And that's the bottom line. And that's all aspects. All right. We're slaves to the system, and it's only going to get worse for the younger people. Your final thoughts, Jonathan?
One of the things I heard, and it made a lot of sense, right? I think everyone will agree that things are not good right now. And if you look back, right, over the last 16 years, it is, right? Because you had Obama, Trump, and Biden. So 4,
Mm-hmm.
8, 12, 16. 12 out of the 16 years were Democrats, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all you hear from the left and Democrats is that they want change. They want, we need change. We need something different. They're complaining about all the problems that we have today and the last few years, but um, even Kamala said in one of her speeches that, um, we need change. What we have now is not good. But they've been in charge 12 out of the 16 years. So
Mm-hmm.
if you really do want to change, it's got to be a change in the right direction. And the only person that
Yeah.
is on the ballot right now that can do that is Trump. And I agree, there may have been better options for the Republicans, someone that is, you know, more likable, let's say, because Trump has his like real, people that are so loyal to him, but then he has the other half of America that just hate his guts, and they'll vote
Mm-hmm.
not for Harris but against Trump, and that's the problem. People would rather vote against Trump than say they're voting for Harris. So
Yeah.
he need in the swing states, that's the problem. We need him to be a likable person so he can get those people that are on the fence which way to go. And that's where I see it. So hopefully Trump gets it, and hopefully we can move forward and start going in the right direction. Because like you said, if Harris gets it, I don't know what's going to happen. And anyone out there, we'll see. But hopefully we don't have it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, just to add on to what you're saying, like 12 out of the last 16 years, the Democrats have run things. And we look at those 4 years that they weren't running things, and we look where the country was. Country did fantastic in 17, 18, and 19 under Trump. And then, they threw in the prearranged engineered COVID. Okay. And that's a whole nother story, but that was all planned out and I'll tell you why it was planned out. On January 17th of 2017, 3 days before Trump gets sworn in, Dr. Fauci said, you can look this up, Trump will will experience a pandemic during sometime in his presidency. Now, why would you say that? They knew the game they were going to play, and that's what they did. Um, you know what? We know what we're getting with Trump. And look what Trump's done over the last few weeks. He's brought Bobby Kennedy on, okay? Bobby Kennedy should be put in charge of the FDA. That's what should happen. Bobby Kennedy's a smart guy. There's a lot of things I agree with Bobby, and there's a few things I disagree with him. Brought on Tulsi Gabbard, who's a Democrat, okay? Elon Musk. Now, over the weekend, actually, Ron Paul, who's a big libertarian, has a huge following, bigger than all of them put together. He actually, yep, see, there you go, surprise outbreak during Trump's administration. And Ron Paul actually was asked by Elon to be part of the new government efficiency department of cutting, back costs. And that's huge, huge. One guy said Trump's putting together the Avengers. He's bringing people in from other parties, and that's what he's doing. You don't see this happening, from Biden and Harris. Democrats want to keep the same people going. They want their Marxist people on board. Listen, you know what? If you can't open your eyes and see the light now, I don't think you guys ever will. All right, listen, thumbs up, like, subscribe, and listen, let's just pray and pray hard that Trump not only wins the election, that he is also sworn in on January 20, 2025. Everybody, take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.